Hello everyone, I'm Bernie Gordon, and this is my senior project presentation. My central question was, what is the best possible way to store the equipment of the high school football team? And I came to the conclusion that the best way to store the equipment would be a shed. So why is this project needed? So as you can see, this is what it was like before in the old storage container where we stored all our equipment. And it's obviously not in the most sanitary conditions. Like there's a little bit of like residue in there and stuff. And just a quick story about how bad it eventually got. We brought all our equipment to Medway for practicing because of Corona and stuff. And when someone hit one of the dummies, and a couple of mice came out of the dummies, live mice. So it wasn't in the best of conditions, and it wasn't really easy to access because it was kind of a mess in there, unorganized. And then my project will prolong the life of the equipment because it'll be in a lot better conditions. So why I chose this project? I've been playing football since I was in 8th grade, and it really has helped me a lot grow as an individual and sort of break out of my shell. And I also wanted to give back to the team, obviously, because it has helped me so much. And I really thought like this would be a good way to help out with the program. So my goals were to create a sanitary space to store all of the equipment that we had, which was I wanted to be easily accessible and at a reasonable cost, which was hard, because there's so much equipment, it takes up a lot of space, that you need a large amount of space to sort of store it all, and to sort of like make sure it's not like impossible to get in there. So yeah. So my plan was to wait for warmer weather. So I didn't want to build it like in the winter and stuff. Was to get it approved. This is kind of like my roadmap. Build a sturdy foundation. Follow the instructions on the that we were given with the shed, and ask for help when needed. So one big issue I ran into was the weather. So I got my project approved in the winter, so I didn't know if I should wait till spring or I should just go right ahead in the winter and try and start it. Because obviously with New England weather, you never know what's gonna go on. And I also thought, well, if I do it in the spring, I'll have enough time to complete it. And I obviously did, and I did wait till spring. And then the rain was kind of a little bit of a pain because I tried to complete it on a day a week ago, and it just poured. So I had no shot of even completing it. It was just too much of a hassle. So then getting approved. So first I talked to Mr. Carter and all of you guys about my project. And then I was told to talk to Mr. Engler, who told me to talk to the voting board of the town hall. And I just needed to see if I needed a building permit or not, but the town just waived that for me because I was building it on school property, and it was below the limits I needed to build it. And then I needed to get a location that was on school property, not town property, because that back football field over there is technically town property. So I had to find a spot that was technically Millis property, but or close enough to the old storage container where the town wouldn't care. So first, I started off with building the foundation. I needed to make sure I had the right materials, which I just used plywood and some cinder blocks to basically build the foundation. I also need to make sure I had the proper measurements for the plywood, which they were 4x8s. So what I needed to do was, my shed was 10x12, so I needed to cut one in half to sort of get that front length. Make sure I also had the 12 feet going back that way. And then I need to make sure it was stable, which I use the cinder blocks for. I just sort of lay them on top of the cinder blocks and then bolted them down eventually. So assembling the foundation. So I attached the cut pieces using a hinge, and what I did was I nailed down the hinge so the pieces would connect that way. And then with plywood, you can just sort of push the edges together. So we just used the sledgehammer and sort of push those in together. And then I had to make sure it was all level. So as you might be able to see there, it's kind of on a slope going downward. So what we did was, to raise that back part up, we used some extra plywood that we had to stack it up so that it would become level all throughout. So then building the frame, this was for some reason, the toughest part, and I don't know why. Oh, this one, you can see the ladder in there. But yeah, so building the frame, it was just unclear how we were supposed to do it. So me and my friends spent a solid like 30 or 40 minutes just trying to figure out how to do the front of the frame. So then we built up the corners, and then we put on the top frame, which sort of was a guide after that to build up the walls. And we did mess up the top frame because we put it on backwards, so then we had to redo that like halfway through putting the walls up. It was not fun. So then we put up the walls, which was actually kind of easy once we fixed the top frame. We just sort of laid them overlapped them a little bit, and then drilled them in. And then we put up the wall channel, which is that sort of like line that's going through the middle on the inside, which helps with support and stuff. And that took a while because you have to do about 70 screws to do that whole thing. And that just took a while, and it was a really tight fit because it needs to be like exactly right to fit on and support the shed. And then the door frames just were easy. We just bolted them on, which wasn't that hard. So the roof support. So we first found the gables, which is this little like triangular part right here. And then we needed to do the gable supports, which are these lines right here, which those were generally easy. We just needed to attach those to the top frame. So then we built the support beams beforehand, and then we just put them in, which this was a little bit challenging because we had to get up high, and we had to have one person hold it in the back while the other tried to add it on. So then finishing the roof. So we had to start from the back to the front because we needed to make sure that because we had to do weathering tape on top. So we had to start from the back to the front in order for that to fit on properly. So then just attaching them, we first attached them to the center beam, and then we put the trim on. And then after we put the trim on, we attached it to the perimeter of the shed. So that took a while because that took us about probably 8 to 10 hours to do, just the roofing, because there's so many screws, and getting the pieces onto the support beam were kind of difficult, just because it's up high, and we have to make sure each piece is on right. So then doing the doors was one of the last things that we did. So I had to put on these door supports right here. And then we just sort of had to attach it, but we were missing a couple pieces. But we were able to use what pieces we had in order to just sort of, I guess the pieces we were missing just weren't necessary because it still worked without it. So that was pretty good. And we made sure it worked after. So this is what it looked like when it was finished. I'm pretty proud of it. And this is what it looks like with some equipment in there. There's not a ton in there right now because they're still using some of the equipment to work out there, and some that's still at Midway, so some of that still needs to get brought back. And so, this is what I've learned. So I learned how to be resourceful. So I was able to use all my resources. Like I said, I used literally every single piece of extra plywood I had to make sure it was level. I also learned that directions are important. We had to restart multiple times because we just sort of weren't the brightest when it came to following directions, and we didn't pay attention. So that probably set us back about 5-10 hours maybe. And I learned to take initiative because when I was having some of the stuff shipped here, they were supposed to call me the night before and they never did. Then I got a call at 7 in the morning that they were coming in 40 minutes. So I had to fly down here and kind of bother Miss Bedard, Mr. Engler, and Coach Olson to help me out, which I felt kind of bad about. So I just need to give a couple of thank yous. Thank you to Ben Hermey, Robert Parisi, and Mitchell White and John Gorman, my dad, for helping me construct the shed. They put in each probably about like 10 to 20 hours with me, which is a lot, and I'm very thankful that they were able to help me out. Miss Bedard helped me with the shipping and getting it, like finding someone to help me with the shipping, and Coach Olson helped me with receiving the package as well. Mr. Engler always kept up with me, kept in contact, and really like helped me out and helped me through some of the minutia. And then Coach Legos, helped me figure out what needs to be put in it and helped me find like a good spot for it. So I'm very thankful he was able to help me out. And this is my work cited, and any questions?